So Mike actually started this, and I sort of backed it up a little bit, but he started by saying, for those who can tolerate a larger tracking error and are pursuing a more absolute return type wealth trajectory, how might they begin to think about this problem from a beta and portable alpha type framework?
Well, again, I think we cover a lot of this, but there's a bunch of different ways. I think Meb Faber talked about, he did a horse race between, the permanent portfolio, risk parity, Mohamed Al-Arian. I'm sure you can add more things. I mean, certainly the way we like to approach it, which is a bit of risk parity, a portion of long short, commodities, systematic global macro, some tail protection, is an all-weather approach that's maximizing your Sharpe ratio, right? So there doesn't seem to be one answer to all of this, really. But let's say that you source an allocation, an asset class allocation from the Dragon portfolio, from the Cockroach portfolio, from risk parity, from Alarian. You mix them together and you find whatever that optimal all-weather ensemble of all-weather strategies are. Well, now you can lever that up, right? And so what we're working on is trying to put together some sort of widget, hopefully soon, that has what we believe to be the underlying exposures across many different public funds, where you can type in, this is the allocation I want, and this is the leverage I want, and it spits out how to put together these public ETFs and mutual funds to give you the exposures that you want at different levels of leverage, right? So I think from my perspective, a thoughtful approach would be that, like source strategies where people are calling them all weather, see if you like them, put them together, find the allocation, and then, at this point the widget isn't up and running, but certainly you can reach out to us and we can help you structure that using these public funds in a way that that is useful to you, whether you're an individual investor or an advisor. Corey, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say the tough part today is still that there's not a plethora of funds that do this, and because leverage was historically a four-letter word and probably still is, they don't advertise that they do this return stacking. So coming up with a list of funds that actually do the return stacking, I think, Rodrigo, you and I put together maybe a list of 20 total. That said, the SEC rules changed as of last October, as to how much notional leverage can be used in a 40 Act fund. It's now based on value at risk. So just as an example, it used to be if I wanted to take 2-year US Treasury futures and lever them up 10 times and put it in an ETF, I couldn't do that, even though that was probably the equivalent duration risk of me just taking that ETF and buying 20-year US Treasuries, which was allowed. So now the SEC has changed their tune, and it's not about notional leverage, it's about your value at risk. And so my expectation would be there's going to be a lot more funds that are incorporating derivatives, providing you a lot more bang for your buck. I think you'll see different currency strategies coming to market, a lot more in the Treasury future space, commodity futures, hopefully, because a lot of these strategies that could be done in hedge funds really got neutered when they were put in 40 Act vehicles. Doesn't answer your question as to what should people do if they want, more tracking error. I'll gladly admit, as a U.S. investor, it is hard for me to fight that U.S. country bias. I have not become a full convert to something like risk parity, but what I've done with a lot of my money, I just have a lot of U.S. equities that have a low cost basis. I really can't sell them. They're in taxable accounts. I'm sort of stuck with them for the long run. A lot of what I've been working towards is with marginal new money, trying to implement this return stacking via Treasury futures, and then using the freed up capital to buy things like managed futures and strategies or private funds that I might have access to that I think give me a really good diversifying source of return.